Well, a life-saving domestic violence service is on the brink of collapse, and they've warned they're just one sick day away from shutting up shop. The Druitt Family Violence Service provides vital support to women who have fled their violent partners. They've been around since 2006 and save hundreds of lives a year. But now they're so short-staffed, they may be forced to close their doors. The Public Service Association is calling for the New South Wales Government to step in and help this incredibly important service. Stuart Little is the General Secretary of the Public Service Association, and he joins me on the line. Stuart, good morning to you.
Good morning, Mark.
Well, only a few weeks ago we found out Mount Druitt is the most murderous postcode in Sydney. It's also the DV hotspot in Sydney. We can't be losing crucial support systems like this one.
You would think not, and indeed I can confirm that on Monday there will be a meeting of the two remaining staff and the department to talk about the future of this service. You quite correctly said that Mount Druitt, tragically, is virtually, when it comes to domestic violence, it's probably the murder capital of Sydney. And I hate to say that, but in the last 10 years, I think of the 17 murders in that postcode, 10 were related to domestic violence. Indeed, we've seen a lot of talk about domestic violence at both the federal and state level from our political leaders, but what we're not seeing on the ground is any action. And, this has been caused because there's a huge shortfall in caseworkers. Mark, we've gone from 7 caseworkers down to 2. And there's a trainee out there. And it's a disgraceful set of circumstances. We really need the Minister, Jody Harrison, the Minister for Domestic Violence, to intervene and to go to her colleagues in Cabinet and say, what is going on? Why aren't we funding caseworkers out in Western Sydney?
Stuart, have you spoken to the Minister?
We met with the Minister several weeks ago. Indeed, there was an announcement on a $230 million domestic violence package. I have to say that was not a productive meeting. Mark, our members want to be in this fight, and at the moment they're not, because the government won't support them. We've got programs like, Stay Home Leave Violence program, which should be funded by and supported by the government. That's where we start to focus on the perpetrators in domestic violence. I mean, I absolutely agree we have to support the victims, but we've got to start dealing with the perpetrators. These people should be forced to, be removed from the home, be supported by wraparound services, police, corrections, community corrections, health, housing. We can't provide that service if our members from community services aren't in there. What we're seeing from successive governments is they just say, we'll fund NGOs, and obviously they do a great job. They support women, they've got refuges and so forth. But what they can't do is navigate the criminal justice system. That's where our members come into it.
Yep, couldn't agree more with you. Just one last one. I'm just thinking out loud here, right? So you've got a domestic violence hotspot in Sydney like Mount Druitt. As you've just pointed out, you've got 2 caseworkers and a trainee. I would have thought from a government perspective and the Minister for Domestic Violence Prevention, if you're going to tackle an issue that's rife in the community like Mount Druitt, you'd be focusing your attention on that area. But 2 caseworkers and a trainee, that's just not good enough.
It's a disgraceful situation. Wouldn't you think that on Monday, instead of them talking about the future of the service, they should be announcing more caseworkers?
Yeah.
That's what the government should be doing. You've got the federal government wanting to employ 500 across Australia. A lot of those are in New South Wales. You've got the state government talking about child protection. As we've seen, child protection, which is obviously embroiled in domestic violence. We're getting to see 1 child in 5. 1 child in 5 out of those reported at risk of serious harm. It is a diabolical set of circumstances. We need the government to step in. We need the Premier to step in. They've got to stop suffering from paralysis. They often point the finger at the previous government, and that's fair enough, but they've been in now for nearly 2 years. It's time for them to get a move on and start addressing these issues. This is a critical frontline service. Absolutely,
Stuart, and it's all well and good for our politicians to stand there when a woman loses her life as a result of a domestic violence incident, when they've got opportunities like this to really beef up support and caseworkers in areas where domestic violence is rife. Well, they need to put their money where their mouth is and start doing something about it. Stuart, keep in touch with us, mate, and let us know how you go next week.
Thanks, Mark. Thank you.
That's Stuart Little, General Secretary of the Public Service Association. I mean, Jody Harrison's the Minister. The Minister's responsibility is there in the title. Minister for Domestic Violence Prevention. Domestic violence prevention. If you want to prevent it, why not go out to an area like Mount Druitt, which is a DV hotspot, and say, right, we need to get some more caseworkers out here, instead of talking about the future of the service at all. 7 caseworkers to 2 plus a trainee? Wow. No wonder there's a problem.